What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here today to have a little talk about eBay. I have three things that I would like to see eBay fix slash change slash improve. Looking at this from you don't have to limit it to just sports cards, but like a collectible standpoint. So comic books, whatever else. The collectibles market. And if you want to tie it specifically to sports cards, that's fine. But it's mostly going to affect things in the sports card world. So like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff down below. Let's go ahead and get into this. And it's three, but two of them kind of go hand in hand. Let's start with the one-off first, and then we'll dive into the other two because they kind of tie directly in together. The first biggest one is, and this is going to sound, I don't know, but they need to do something about the fees. I get everyone calls it FeeBay. They went away from the PayPal thing to manage payments. That was supposed to make things better. I don't know that it is. I don't mind the managed payment payout thing. That's fine with that. I get paid out once a week. I don't have any problem with that. That's perfectly fine. Managed payments in general, I don't mind. I don't like the fact that they took the extra, 3 to 4% that PayPal was getting, and then they just kept that for themselves. I get it. They're trying to run a business, but at the same time, with their 14-ish% fees that they have going on right now, and I know that varies depending on if you're, you have an eBay store or this, that, or the other thing, or you're a power seller, or an item sells for a certain amount of money, whatever. But for the average Joe Schmo, they're paying probably the 10 to 14% in fees. What I don't like is that you guys, one, that the fee is 14%. Two, that the fee is taken out on top of everything else. So if I sell a card for $500, it gets taken out of the total of everything. So you wait for taxes to be applied and shipping and all that other stuff, and then you take the fee based off that number. That's not actually what I sold the card for. So that feels a little weird. Two, with your high fees, you've allowed other competitors to pop up and take advantage of that. And I love my slabs. Don't get me wrong. Even if eBay lowered their fees, I would still use my slabs 100%. It's a no-brainer. You can have things in your hand. You might as well post them on multiple sites. But you're allowing these other marketplaces to pop up. I believe Alt is 1% seller fees. I don't remember. Maybe it's 5%. My slabs is obviously 1% buyer, 1% seller, and PayPal goods and services. So it's basically a 4% fee, which is perfectly fine. That's great. And I don't even necessarily expect eBay to get that low, but can you just get to like a flat 10% for a base level item? It's just ridiculous. And I understand, like, you get the most eyes, and I understand paying some level of fees. And I'm not saying go to 1% like my slabs, or even 5%. Can we just get to like a flat 10? And can you just charge me based off the sold price of the item and not tack in all this other extra nonsense? So that's the first big one. The second one, and like I said, the second and third kind of tie in together. And I think these are actually almost more important than the fee structure thing, though the fee structure could help. And we've talked about this before. You have to do something about non-payers. The best thing that you guys did this year in regards to the card industry was the 3-day return policy for item not as described. That was beautiful. We desperately needed that. You guys finally listened and you fixed that. Perfect. Sweet. Thank you so much. That was a massive help. Now, you guys, please, if I can fix one thing, if I can limit it to like one thing, it would be this. You have to do something about the non-payer. I understand you have the non-payer strikes and all this nonsense, but it doesn't work. I personally haven't had a lot of experience with non-payment, but I see it on social media day in and day out. I get messages about it, tagged in posts, card porn's posting about it every other day. The non-payer thing, you guys have to give sellers tools to deal with that. whether it's allowing us to leave negative feedback as a buyer or as a seller. I don't understand why as sellers we cannot leave negative feedback to buyers. It makes zero sense. Why can they ding me for negative feedback and I can't dig them for negative feedback? It doesn't make any sense. If someone takes 4 days to pay, I should be able to ding them for that, or at least leave a neutral. Or if they no pay at all, I should be able to ding them beyond the non-payment strike, or auto ding them if they non-pay somehow with a negative feedback. Just like an automatic, if you don't pay for an auction, you automatically get hit for a non-payment feedback, and it's a negative feedback marker that says non-payment or something like that, and it just automatically happens. Because that's easy for you guys to track. You're giving them a non-payment strike. Just build that in automatically then if you don't want to deal with it. The thing that ties into this, which I've talked about on the channel before, is there really should just be an auto pay option. At minimum, there needs to be one for buy it nows, offer accepted, that sort of stuff. There's no way I should send an offer out to someone, they should accept it, and then have 4 days to sit around the wait to pay for it. Makes no sense. Zero, none, no sense. Personally, I think it should be an auto pay. A lot of people agree with that. A lot of people will also push back and say, I like to buy multiple items from the same seller and save on shipping. I get that. There'll be a way to figure that out. Maybe you buy one item and you message the seller and you tell them, hey, there's something else I'm bidding on that ends tomorrow. Can you hold off on shipping it? You've already paid for it. The auto pay goes through, and then you purchase the next item the next day, and then they combine shipping on the order. And then eBay's software, they're a big company, they could figure this out, would auto credit you back the $5 for the second item on the shipping once they completely total you out or something. If that's people's biggest objection to auto payment, then there's a way to figure that out. I'm not smart enough to sit down and program it, but there's a way that you could figure that out, that eBay could sit down and figure out a way for multiple items, combined shipping, and giving you a credit back to your payment on file. But there is no reason. What kind of industry? You can't walk into the grocery store and say, I want these items, and then just not pay for them for 4 days. Imagine filling up your grocery cart at Walmart, going up to the front thing and saying, okay, we're just going to leave this here. I'll be back on Tuesday for those, and it's Friday. I got to wait for payday. Hold all this stuff in my cart for me. I'll see you guys in 3 days. Don't worry about the milk. It won't spoil. I'm sure it'll be fine. Stick it outside if you have to. It's cold out in the Northeast. Like, what are we doing? There has to be a way to figure out the auto pay thing. And this leads into number 3. And this, to me, is another big one. It goes with the whole non-payment thing. And I'm going to tie something else to this. So we're actually going to go like 3.5, 4. That is, if you're going to keep the current system and an item goes unpaid, or an order is canceled, whether it's the buyer or the seller, if an order is canceled, the seller requests to cancel an order because the item's out of stock, even though it's there, but the comps went up and they don't want to sell it for the current price. Or if the buyer, flakes out and doesn't want to pay for it. Instances when that happens, those items need to be removed from your sold and completed listings. And this is a very, very important one, because those completed listings set comps. So if an item is unpaid for, it's not a comp. It was never actually sold at that price. There's really no way for us to know. Now, sometimes you could kind of tell if something looks a little fishy going on, or if it's a very low pop rare card, people will say like, hey, this actually didn't sell or whatever. You'll see it reposted. But in general, there's not a real easy way for us to tell on the medium end stuff. On the super liquid stuff, like a base Prism Zion or whatever, there's enough of those that sells that you could figure it out. It's more on the semi-rare stuff that maybe only one sells once a week or once every 2 weeks. Where there's not a lot of movement on it, or a couple sell in a week. That's the stuff where it becomes more important on. But this should just be across the board. If an item is not paid for, if an item is canceled, it needs to be eliminated from the sold listings and completed item list. So when I go on 130 Point, or if I go on eBay sold listings, Market movers, card ladder, card hedger, whatever tool sucks the data out, sees that gets eliminated, and then it's removed. And it doesn't show up on your completed listings page anymore, or your sold listings page anymore. That to me is a huge one, because how many of these items, and this is where the half one comes in. There's still a ton of shill bidding going on, and I know that that's very hard to control and hard to police. But I think if you had some sort of auto payment in place, that could potentially help curtail some of the shill bidding stuff. If people knew that their credit card was going to get dinged with a $10,000 charge if they shill bid up something really high, there's probably going to be less shill bidding happening, because there's going to be less people that are going to want to tie up a $10K charge on a credit card, for even if it's just for 24 to 48 hours. A lot of people aren't going to want to do that, or a lot of people aren't going to have room on their card and it'll reject. So I think that's something that needs to happen. And maybe the auto pay thing, to circle back to that, maybe on super high-end items it works a little bit differently, but there's got to be a better way to figure that out. Or you need, the other way around that is you just crack down a lot harder on your non-payers. And maybe limit the window. Why does it have to be 4 days? That doesn't even make any sense. Sorry, I got a little off topic there, or kind of backtrack to the previous topic that we were talking about. But items that are not actually sold, which you guys know, eBay, you know if an item was paid for or not. Get that off the sold and completed listing page. To me, this is the most important one out of all these. If you could, the fees would be nice. I get it. That's probably the longest shot out of all these, is some sort of special fee structure for trading cards / collectibles or whatever. I get that's a pipe dream. Cracking down on non-payers, whether it's narrowing the window to 24 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, whatever, and then fixing the items showing up on completed sold listings that weren't actually sold or completed. I know of plenty of cards that got relisted that still show up on the completed item page, or a card was shilled and it's still showing up on there. Because clearly that didn't get paid for. But you really need to figure those things out. It would make things so much better and so much nicer, and we would have a more true sense for what a lot of this stuff is actually selling for. Because sometimes it's hard to tell. Like I said, more liquid stuff that sells all the time, you have a better sense for it. But some of this more rare, low pop stuff, little different story. I flag a ton of eBay auctions on watch lists. And if something interesting catches my eye, it might not even be something that I'm bidding on or that I plan on bidding on. I'm just curious what it ends at or whatever. Or I just think it's an interesting auction. Like the other day, the Vince McMahon Super Fractor and the Luke Skywalker PSA 10 Pop 9 or whatever it was from 77 Star Wars. I flag those and I make the community posts about them, and sometimes I tweet them out or whatever. It's just like, hey, here's some interesting auctions that I'm keeping an eye on. Sometimes it's stuff I'm bidding on. Sometimes it's just stuff that I'm curious about. And the number of times, sometimes I'll post them after an item's ended. Sometimes I'll post the links before an item ends. The number of comments that I get, whether it's mentions or whatever, about, go look at the bidding history on that. That doesn't look right. Or, this is shilled. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're 100% legit, or they look legit anyway. It's hard to tell. But there's just not, there is a sense of, there's lost confidence in the eBay, I don't want to say platform, but like the comps, and was this a legit sale? Was it not? That sort of stuff. There seems to be a level of lost confidence in that realm, and we need to get that back somehow. So, curious for what you guys and girls, what's the biggest thing you would like to see changed on eBay? And be realistic about it. Like, they're obviously not going to go to 1% seller fees. That's just not realistic. But give me a realistic thing you would like to see eBay make an adjustment on, fix, change, whatever. I'd be curious to see those in the comments down below. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Catch you on the next one. Peace.